welcome to this Web Extra, a special edition of Marketing Connections. I'm Julie Holton, and I am here with Tim Haynes of Symposia Labs. We have Jesse Flores of Super Web Pros and Paul Schmidt of Unoduce Multimedia. Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this special Web Extra edition, where we're going to talk about all things kind of social media video related. I think when we were first talking about putting this segment together, we named it something like how to communicate in a tweets and TikTok based world, which I think is such a kind of catchy title because that's how we're having to communicate with potential clients and customers. And like it or not, which I know Jesse probably doesn't really like it as much. He's not the biggest fan of social media from a personal aspect. Like it or not, that's where our clients are. So I'm going to kick things off with Paul. Paul, you recorded the episode that aired on our show talking about the various platforms. And the very last thing I asked you was, is this a fad or is this here to stay? Paul, what do you say?
I don't think it's a fad at all. I mean, we are conditioned for short form video, whether it's 6 seconds to 30 seconds to 15 seconds. We're conditioned for these. And so just having it in a situation that TikTok has put it in is really kind of brought it full circle into more visibility.
Tim, what do you think? Is this a fad? And also, I want to know from you, what are the benefits? Why, if I'm not already using video on, short form video on these platforms, why should I consider it, or should I consider it?
I don't think that it's a fad. Everyone has perhaps grown tired of Tinder as an analogy, but that app is certainly not a fad, or at least the getting together because of connections made online is not a fad. We've all had a bad date. I think content is like a shared meal. It's only part of the equation. The conversation that you're having is critical. Having said that, if the content that people are biting into doesn't taste very good or doesn't align with their interest and preferred flavors, then no matter how you communicate it, it's not going to be received well or have an impact. Tweets, TikTok videos, I'm sure there will be more things in the next year or two that come out, but I don't think that digital is going away.
Such a great point too. Tim, I hear you saying if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. It still needs to be quality content. Jesse, where do you land on all of this? Is this a fad, or are you hoping it's a fad?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know that I think it's a fad. Full disclosure, I'm probably the only person in the marketing in the marketing world who doesn't do social media on a personal level, at least not very often. I don't think it's necessarily a fad. I do think that the rate of growth will ultimately hit a diminishing return, right? And Twitter is still with us, for instance, but the number of new users joining every month is certainly dramatically less than it was in 2004. Same thing with Facebook, circa 2006, right? So the rate of adoption will plateau, and I think what you'll end up seeing is similar to these other networks, that there will be people who are early adopters who create great content. Who get some kind of micro influencer or influencer status on these platforms. But like most platforms, this will be there'll be a Pareto principle, right? There'll be some small percentage will attract the majority of the engagement. So I think when you ask the question, is it a fad? There's really two parts to it. There's like, what's the trend, right? There's that part, which I think I just shared. But the other is the decision component of that, which is, the reason I want to know if it's a fad is because I want to know how much time or energy I should invest in it. And I think Paul said on the live segment that you should do whatever you're already doing or wherever your audience already is. And I feel the same way about this kind of a thing. I can tell you, we have no plans to figure out anything in YouTube Shorts or TikTok. I will spend zero capital on all of that because it's not where we're going to shine. It's not where we're going to. I don't care if we build an audience there. It's not important for our audience, right? And so. I think the rate, like I said, the rate will change, and whether or not it's a worthy investment, I think is going to be tied to your goals and your audience.
Such a great point. You have to market where your audience is. And important to say, so if I'm trying to market to Jesse, social media is not going to be where I'm going to find him personally. but his business is there. Jesse, what platform should we follow your business on?
So we actually do have
Instagram?
actually have a Facebook page. I can't say how well it's maintained, but generally, you know, I direct people to our website. If it's got something appealing for you, then there's lots of opportunities to convert and let us know. And actually, one of the cool things we are going to be starting to build is our Pro Academy, which will have a bunch of courses online, and that's really where we're going to start helping people. Hoping people will be able to both engage with our best content and also hopefully get something out of it. And then we'll figure out the social at some point.
And if you're looking for help with social for your business, then M Connections or Symposia Labs are where you need to go. Tim, what platform should we follow Symposia Labs on social media?
So I think it's important to be both where your audience is and where your audience is going. So LinkedIn, Facebook, our website, but also hopefully TikTok as well. Ask me again in a few weeks, maybe, after I've had a chance to figure it out.
I think your team is pretty excited about that one. I did hear some behind the scenes rumblings. I can't wait to follow you on TikTok. Paul, where is your team? I know you're on YouTube. Where else can we find Introduce Multimedia?
Well, my statement for that is like, if you can't find us, you are not looking. We are on almost all the social platforms. Funny enough, we are not on TikTok. However, we pay very much attention on how that's going and how that works for brands, because that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to user-generated content through TikTok and brands, is sometimes there's a conflict there. It hasn't been completely integrated for brands just yet, but it's getting there. It's hot. It's where people are. And I agree with Jesse a little bit about the longevity of these platforms as well, because like you said, it will plateau. And what we're finding is, like, you know, some folks will be remaining with Snapchat, some folks will remain with Facebook. You know, it's like when we talked about the generational or generations, that's where you're going to find where the generations are siloed a little bit. And so I agree with that assessment too. So sorry, I went off a little bit long-winded, but you can also find us all online, all those social networks, except for TikTok just yet.
We'll stay tuned for that one. And of course, we've got all of these links right here on the webpage. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for this Web Extra.